So here we are again for another Sony Alpha 7s III unboxing. Well, we're not actually here in the same place. Now we're in upstate New York, last time we were in Southern California. I wrote a script this time because I have a lot to say about why I bought this camera body this time. It is a stressful decision which was mostly motivated by my current Sony Alpha 7s III becoming partially defective after a firmware update. Sony released their firmware version 3.00 in April of 2024. I got an email about it, and I didn't do anything. Then Sony released firmware version 3.01 in May of 2024. I got an email about that too, and I installed it. After installing it, I went to try to use the phone app that lets you see through the camera lens and take photos. The camera told me that the Wi-Fi/Bluetooth unit had malfunctioned. I kept getting that error whether I tried to connect my phone to use the app or just tried to connect the camera to Bluetooth or Wi-Fi devices. Later, I also noticed that the eye tracking autofocus feature does not work anymore. I've looked online, and it looks like a lot of other people have had the same issues after updating their firmware on their Sony Alpha 7s III cameras too. I've been able to find a lot of speculation about why this is happening, and I think it makes the most sense that due to COVID or some other supply chain, design, or cost-related decision, Sony used a different set of chips when they manufactured some of these Alpha 7s IIIs, and the new firmware doesn't support those chips. So I've deliberated over what to do about this since that day that I updated the firmware and then started Googling. I could get the camera repaired, and that would cost $1,040. I settled on getting a new body. Just getting a new body and keeping this semi-defective Alpha 7s III. I have a bunch of lenses and have wanted a second body for some time now. I also saw the Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and eye tracking features work for one evening after I installed the firmware version 4.00.
I can see what you can see. Oh my god, it's so cool. It's gonna watch me make it focus on my face. Okay, back on the background. Okay, no, that's not. Yeah. See? Like, I did that by clicking on me on my phone. It's so cool. I love this so much.
So I do want to keep the broken camera body so I can see if future firmware fixes it, especially since that firmware version did fix it entirely for a few hours. And finally, this camera still has a lot going for it without Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or eye tracking. So if I have two of them, it's okay if the second one can't do those things. So yeah, I don't feel that great about buying this at this time because this camera body is still so insanely expensive. But I also would like the main camera I use for YouTube to be able to keep my face in focus, and I really want to keep tabs on this issue with Sony's firmware and participate in a class action lawsuit if there is one. Because I really think Sony's leaving its customers out to dry with this one. The firmware version 3.00 was released in April of 2024. I bought my Alpha 7s III in February of 2021, so it was already out of warranty by 2 years. So that's frustrating. I'm going to try to think about being able to get a time lapse of the Milky Way from 2 angles in the same night. Okay, so now you can watch me actually unbox this. Okay, I have to butt in here after recording the unboxing. I saw posts on Reddit and other sites about the autofocus performance being degraded along with the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth being disabled. I don't remember now if they said that eye and face tracking didn't work altogether or if they said that the performance had changed. I no longer saw my camera showing brackets around faces or eyes, so I assumed that the new firmware completely disabled face and eye tracking for my camera. However, it looks like the new firmware either added an option to turn off the brackets that appear around faces or eyes, or it changed that setting to be turned off by default. I did not learn this until after I pointed this new α7s III at my face with the screen flipped around and did not see the boxes it usually draws around my eye or face. I went through the menu to see if the feature was turned off, and I saw the setting for face/eye frame display and that it was turned off on both cameras. Once I turned it on both cameras, they both started displaying boxes around my face or eyes when I'm in the frame. So it seems like the only problems that my older α7s III has with the new firmware are Bluetooth and Wi-Fi not working and the camera occasionally freezing. I'm a little disappointed that I bought a whole new body without more research into this. I assumed face and eye tracking wasn't working at all, but it could have been that the setting to display the brackets was turned off. That feels kinda lame of me. I don't know if the tracking bracket display setting was changed in firmware 3.00, 3.01, 3.02, or 4.00. I also don't know if the performance was reduced with one of these versions. It seems okay with version 4.00. I can't reinstall old firmware to test autofocus performance because the firmware updates can't be undone. So I think that with firmware version 4.00, the only problems with my α7s III are Bluetooth and Wi-Fi related. If you disagree, please let me know why. I'm open to changing my mind, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to keep my broken α7s III exactly the way it is. I can do things like compare my two camera bodies to see if I can duplicate issues other people are having. And it's really weird that my Wi-Fi and Bluetooth functions returned only for one evening after I updated to the 4.00 firmware. But it gives me hope that future firmware updates could restore this camera's full functionality. Alright, I'm done for real now. Thanks for listening to me rant. I know you're thinking, just stay 2 nights. But you know what? The second or first night is always cloudy. You only ever get one good night. If you go for 1 night, you get 1 good night. If you go for 3 nights, you get 1 good night. That's just how it always works, okay? It's just how it works. I don't know. I don't make the rules, okay? I'm not God. I don't decide the weather, the clouds at night. That's just how it works, okay? Just letting you know how it works. Alright.